Okay, so let's talk specifically about the math section of the SAT. First, I have some strategies, overall math strategies for you to consider, and then we're going to do three sample questions together. My overall strategy is number one, and the most important. Yes, you should absolutely study for the SAT. It makes a humongous difference. Um, Nobody's the same, right? So I'm not going to tell you exactly what studying will do for you, but I will tell you what it does for most of my students and give you a good expectation. And that is most of my students who put in their best effort, which is something like 60 hours of studying, right? You have to do it over a few months. It's a big test, right? But they usually get 150 to a 250 point improvement from their first practice test till their actual final test score. Usually they do have to take the SAT 2 or 3 times to get their best score. It's very rare that you only take the SAT once. Um, that 150 to 250 points, that is a game changer as far as what kind of colleges you can consider. So you should practice. If anyone tells you you can't study for the SAT, that is absolutely not the case. I have tutored hundreds of students, and I can tell you for sure scores go up when you study. All right, so please do put in the time. And watching this video counts. You're doing great already. Okay, next on the math. Hey, reading is critical in the math section. I can't tell you how often students know exactly how to do a math problem, but they still got it wrong because they didn't read it carefully enough. So read carefully. Look for keywords in the math question and make sure you know the definition of all your math vocabulary words, like integer, right? That integer is the one that jumps out the most, but quadratic, you need to know the difference between a linear and a quadratic. You need to know what an exponential equation is. Those um those vocabulary words, when they show up on the test, are big clues to how to do the question. Desmos. Ooh, that is the built-in online graphing calculator is part of the Blue Book app. You can also access it at any time just by going to desmos.com on any browser. You can also, if you have a smartphone, you can download the free app. You just Google Desmos or go to your app store and look for DESMOS. It's free. It's a very easy download. There's zero ads. And I actually like having it on the phone because then if you have a math question on your computer screen, and you have Desmos also on your computer, sometimes you're jumping back and forth to a tab and it's hard to see the question and Desmos at the same time. So if you have Desmos on your phone instead, you can see them both together. So that does seem to, I know teachers aren't supposed to tell you to use your phone practicing, but this is an exception that is actually a good reason to be using it during your study. Okay, in addition to Desmos, you're also allowed to bring a handheld calculator, such as this one here. Here's my TI-36X Pro. This is the one I recommend. If you don't have another one, if you're going to buy it, it's only about $20 here. TI-36X Pro. It is not a graphing calculator. Hey, I've got a graphing calculator too. I've got a TI 84 CE. It's a beautiful green. You can get several different colors. This one cost me about $120. When I take the SAT, I have both of these on my desk. This is the one I prefer. So this is my recommended one. And graphing calculator, hey, it's because Desmos is such a powerful tool, the graphing calculators don't add anything, right? And they actually can slow you down because they're more complicated. There's more buttons. Usually there's more keystrokes to get done what you need to do. They're not as good with fractions. This thing is awesome with fractions. It simplifies square roots for you. This is the one I recommend. Um, Also, when you are doing your practice test on that Blue Book app, right? I talked about it in the last video. Make sure that you are treating it like a real test, which means you should treat your scratch paper just the way you'll get it during the real test. And from what I'm hearing, most test proctors give you 2 sheets only. I have found that 2 sheets is enough, but I do need both of them. And when you're taking it, don't cramp your work together, right? Show your work, label your every work, so that way if you have extra time at the end of the test, you can go back and check your work. If you don't label it, how are you supposed to check it later? Leave yourself lots of white space so that if you do find an error, you can do the question again right next to the first time. So practice with that scratch paper. I think you can do it with 2 sheets. You're gonna have to use both sides of both sheets, but you can do it. Hey, maximum accuracy on the easy questions is more important than having time for the hard questions. The end of the SAT, especially if you get the hard version of Module 2, those last 4 or 5 questions are killers. They'll take you a couple minutes each. If you are going for like a 700 or a 750 in the math section, okay, you're going to want to go kind of fast in the easy questions so that you have enough time for those. But if you know that a 650 would be the best score of your life, then you're going to have a different strategy. You're going to realize that those hard questions at the end are not what you need to get your goal score. Is getting all the easy questions right is what you need. So, and also, if you rush through the easy questions so that you have more time on the hard questions, it is usually not a good trade-off. One mistake on an easy question, you know, it is a heartbreaker. Those are points you should have gotten, and there's no guarantee that extra time on the hard question is going to get you the right answers. So never sacrifice an easy question for a hard question, but also don't waste time, right? Do them as fast as you can, but still with maximum accuracy, maximum, right? Not rushing, but also not wasting time. And then finally, yes, the SAT is very trappy. The people who write the SAT, sometimes I refer to them as the evil geniuses. They know exactly how to trick you. Um, some of the traps are a little bit more obvious than others. The more you practice, the better you get at seeing them coming. So, you want to get trapped or tricked in the practice tests, and then you won't fall for that trick again. That's the idea. But the big thing that's going to make a difference, every time you finish a question, you click on your answer. Before you click next to see the next question, just read it one more time. Make sure you didn't miss one of those important words that on the very last step shifts your answer from one option such as A to another option such as C. So that rereading 5 extra seconds on every question is totally worth it. There is no advice that I can give you that's going to improve your score more than that rereading before you move on to the next question. All right, let's try it. So I have 2 questions here. What I want you to do is pause the video right now, try them both for yourself, and then we'll do them together. So here's your fair warning. Pause the video. All right, I hope you had a chance to try both of these because I'm going to do them now. The first one, not too bad. It says the factory produces 3,500 bottles a day. And how many bottles per week is that? Well, there's 7 days in a week, so we're just going to do 3,500 times 7. This is a great time for your handy handheld calculator. And you are going to get here 24,500. All right, for the next question, we're going to use the distance. Yeah, distance equals rate times time formula. You do have to have this one memorized. Distance equals rate times time. All right, I like to write down all 3 variables here. Let's see, 16 meters per second, that's my rate. And 1552 meters, that's my distance. So it must be the time that I'm looking for. When I get the time, it will be in seconds. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, it's time to do the math. We have 1552 equals 16t, dividing both sides by 16. That's where the calculator comes in. We are going to get 97 equals t. And I do know that's in seconds because the rate is in seconds. On harder questions, that might be different. So keep an eye on that. But in this case, there was no twist. A is the correct answer. All right, let's try our last question. Again, pause. Try this one on your own, and we're going to go over it in just a second. All right, I hope you pause. I hope you have your answer. Now I'll go through it myself and show you what that answer is. I want you to be careful here. Keep percent. So for instance, if you get a decimal of, let's say, 0.15, and I think that's what we're going to get, the percent is 15%. So what's the answer? Is it 0.15 or is it 15? Because the question has that word percent in it, you're going with the 15%. And by the way, how do I know is 15% and not and not 85? Well, it's because it's an increased, right? 0.85 here, this would be a decrease. The increase is when you are going up, right? And in this case, the answer is D. We're looking at that going up by 15%. All right. And you know what? We're going to spend a lot more time on this topic in the percentages. So I didn't go through with the formula, the 1 plus R formula, but we are going to talk about that in a future video. And yes, that would apply here, that 1 plus R formula. So watch the percentage video for a little bit more detail there.